I've had guys say to me, Max, we've always done cost plus 15%. I don't know how you make money in that. Like, it's just about impossible. And so, that's why our competitive advantage is to give clients fixed price, and that gives them peace of mind, security, and certainty. But they do pay a premium for that. I'm not going to take the risk at a 15% markup. That's not how it works. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max. I'm the CEO here at Smith & Sons Canada. I'm also the founder at the elitebusinessadvisory.com, business coaching there for general contractors and builders. Great to have you along for the ride. If you're a first-time listener, I appreciate you dropping in and checking us out. I hope you get some value. That is the aim. And if you're a long-time listener, I appreciate you hanging with me and walking this journey with me. I trust you're getting some value out of this as well. Don't forget, like and subscribe. This drops once a week. Hit the bell for the notification. And also don't forget, get across to Business for Builders VIP. If you've got questions, I'd love you to put them in there. I'm happy for you to email me, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. But dropping them in that group for everyone to benefit. The couple of episodes ago, I kind of twigged on that. And I went, you know what, that's actually better. And I think I might have mentioned in the last episode that I'll be grabbing some questions that I've been emailed over the last couple of years and probably dropping those in there as well. And if I've got the okay, I might even just give a shout out to those that have asked me those questions as well. So I think it's good karma. We want to build that community where there's collaboration, a bit of camaraderie. When you realize that we're not meant to be islands and you can get amongst a good community of humans, then, I think our ability to understand where we belong and the fact that we've got a resource and we've got some support, it goes a long way to building our confidence and removing some of the fear, which I talked a lot about in the last episode. So get across to the Facebook page. It's a private group, Business for Builders VIP. Answer the 3 questions. If you're a good sort, I'll let you in and we can get amongst it and we can really start jamming around some sub. And I'm sure, there's over 200 members in there already. It's like if we haven't got stuff to talk about as a group of 200 builders, general contractors or subcontractors, mate, I don't know who does. So there's got to be some things out there that are stumping you as an individual. If you want that customized answer via email, then, I want you to understand, ask me that via email, but I'm probably going to repurpose that for the benefit of the whole group as well. So just keep that in mind, folks. And today we'll get after it. As usual, we want to get something of value into your ears or into your brain that's going to be something you can take away. You can tuck it under your arm and go and implement and execute, because ideas are kind of shit. We want to really make sure that we are executing at the highest level. And so today I am going to talk about making decisions like an executive. So, having started an apprenticeship in 1989 and, moved through the carpentry, contracting world, subcontract world, having 15 guys at one stage as a subcontract carpenter working on multiple projects, and then, getting a builder's license, and then, being a franchisee with Smith & Sons, and then, moving countries and getting the role of a CEO here in a business development format and building a franchise group in another country. I understand the difference of the roles, but what I do take away now is there is a distinct behavior that I have as a CEO that I didn't have as a framing carpenter. And so, when I talk to builders, they go, well, I'm a really good framing carpenter. I've got a builder's license and now I want to run a building company. Well, your mentality or your mindset has to shift from being a carpenter to being more like an executive within your own business. And so we're going to chat about, making those decisions like an executive. And we're going to discuss the critical role of decision making. So we're going to chat about 3 points that are pertinent or that relate to critical thinking and the role of decision making for you as an owner, as a builder, or as a general contractor. And then what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about some strategies, how we can really have that executive level decision making process. So some strategies to help us think and make decisions like executives. So let's get cracking. So the importance of decision making in general contracting or building, these are a couple of things. As a GC or as a builder, one of our most important roles in there is to make decisions that shape the future of the business. And so it was interesting because We've just got set up as I've just set up a building company with a business partner, and we're going to build this company to be the gold standard for Smith & Sons in Canada going forward, and probably the States as well. And so, we had to nominate our positions in the business for banking reasons and shareholder agreements and things like that. And we agreed because the role of a chief executive officer or a CEO is very much a visionary for the business, and the president is more so the operations oversight. And so, I took on, again, another CEO role on the books, and my business partner took on the president because, I guess what we see, what the outside folks looking in might go, well, they disregard the pre-construction phase. And you would have heard me talk about, or maybe you haven't, the pre-construction agreement, the pre-construction process. And that, when people say, oh, what do you, you run a building company. Oh, so you do a lot of time, you spend a lot of time on the building site, you build houses. And so there's a little bit of disregard or disrespect given to the amount of work that goes into the pre-contract, pre-construction phase. And so, that's really my role is going to be that CEO role, the visionary, and then in brackets, general management and sales. So, and then of course my business partner will just handle all things construction. So, we've got to make the decisions that shape the future of the business. And that really, as a CEO, that's essentially what you're doing. So look, we're going to talk about real quick here some key areas for decision making. And so you go, okay, well, what decisions do I have to think about? Well, here's a couple. Company direction. So setting the vision and the strategic goals for the company. That's definitely the CEO role. Hiring, choosing the right team members who align with your company's values and goals. Recruitment, I think, I would say recruitment is probably my biggest challenge. Even harder than getting leads. We kind of have got a decent system. The brand is established. We've got great, digital representation. We've got good digital reputation on our website. So doing Google AdWords seems to work for us. We get really good ROI or return on advertising spend as it relates to our digital. And so, but, recruiting is it's definitely something that has to be reworked. We've got to not just put ads on Indeed or Seek, depending on which neck of the woods you're in, or on ZipRecruiter. We've got to create a more of an organic feel to the business. People that come on board with us have got to understand there's future development for them in the business. And obviously we want to be able to, and I think I might have talked about this in the last episode, we want to talk about obviously recruiting, onboarding, training, retaining, and then making sure we're rewarding our team. So that's part of your role in the decision-making process. What you need, as far as humans, your org chart's got to be set up to, embrace those. Your onboarding and your training, both initial and ongoing, has got to be established, and you've got to make all these decisions. Okay. The next thing is niche selection. So deciding on the specific area of residential construction to focus on and determining the price for your services. So we're talking about, are you a reno specialist, or are you a custom home, or do you want to do project builds and have 30 or 40 plans drawn up, and that you want to go and get a show home, or a display home? Like, you've got to figure out, that's part of your role. I think too often we kind of get pushed around by whatever opportunity drops in our lap. The problem is, if you're going to do, renovations, and you're going to do project homes, and you're going to do industrial, what you've got to do is you've got to have personnel for all of those scope, and you've got to have systems for all the scope for that personnel to follow. That becomes a massive undertaking. And so when you spread yourself so thin, man that chases more than, but chases two rabbits catches neither. And so we've got to be mindful that a niche will actually serve you best. So, you can take a look at Elite Business Advisory. It's got a very generic name. It does evolve. It has evolved, and it is operating in the business coaching world. However, it's very specific to the trades and construction. And that's done intentionally because that is my background. That was my forte. And the opportunity was there. So niche selection, that's something else that you've got to make decisions on and be very mindful about. Okay, where am I most comfortable? So, for me, we've obviously focused on renovations and remodels of all sizes, and, in the residential sector of all sizes and all types, but also custom homes. In other words, people's one-off. This is my forever home. This is what I do. It's highly customized. There is no kind of off the shelf, parts that are going to fit in this. It's going to have some pretty unreal, decor in there and the light fittings. It's going to be, so it needs a very customized approach. So renovations and custom homes, that's what I'm going to focus on as a builder with my business partner. So that might give you a bit of an idea, or you might say, I'm just going to focus on renovations. I'm not interested in doing new homes, and that's fine. You'll grow into it. Just because you said it today, it doesn't mean that niche has got to stick with you for eternity. It's just going, the first level that I'm going to go for is I'm going to be a very good bathroom renovator. That's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to step out of that and I'm going to go kitchens and bathrooms. And then I'm going to go into kitchens, bathrooms, and main floors. Or maybe you'll leave individual bathrooms behind because you go, the average contract value there is 20, 25 grand. Not really interested in those small jobs. My entry level is going to be 50,000 plus. See, I want you to start thinking that's your role and your responsibility as an executive in your business is to start thinking like that. It's not all about what's happening on that job site right now, okay? Client profiling, that's the other choice or the other thing that you've got to think about in your decision-making responsibilities. So defining the ideal client profile to target your services to. For me, we have a very, what I'd call a preferred profile for our clients. And that's important because when I have a real estate agent, no disrespect to the realtors, but I know they're working on behalf of their clients, i.e. the people that own the properties maybe that they're the landlord of, and they just want the cheapest price. So they don't fit my preferred client profile because the preferred client profile that we have are normally successful corporates, or they own and operate their own business that are successful, and they're very well heeled and they want a very good quality service. They value quality over price. Doesn't mean that they're not prudent. Doesn't mean that they work hard in the bargaining side of things. But we want it because we've demonstrated the value and a high level of experience from existing or past clients. They're saying, yes, that's what we want. We want that boutique service. We're not buying a Kia, we're buying a Ferrari or a Maserati. So it's like if we're going to pay that price tag, which is a premium, then that's the experience that we expect. And so, that's certainly important for me because I find that, I've had $1 million plus client and they were awesome to work for. I've had clients that were, small contract values, which are hard work, heavy lifting. It's not a perfect science, but we find that people that do have a different, understanding or attitude towards money and investment and quality can tend to be a little bit more pleasant to work with for sure. The last thing there, as far as decision-making, is your pricing model. You got to establish the most appropriate pricing model that reflects your value and market conditions. So, I just opened an email this morning. There's a builder that I'm chatting with about coming on board as an EBA client, and he was just sort of quizzing me about, hey, I've got this size contract, what markup or margin, this is what I normally do. Can you give us your thoughts? And so, again, this is the power of having somebody to be able to lean on. I want him to think for himself, but I can absolutely give him some framework as far as how I would assess that situation. Because there's a lot of factors. I've got guys now that are having to drop a few points on markup because they're looking at their cash flow forecast and saying, well, we've got a bit of a black spot there. So in August, we've got a little bit of a position in our cash flow forecast that is not even going to cover our break even. So, there's going to be a client that comes into his life that basically is going to get lucky and is going to save a few $1,000s because he's doing his cash flow projections and he is just pivoting slightly to ensure the safety and the longevity of the business. So, you might say, well, Max, I'm absolutely committed to cost plus. We're not cost plus builders, but if that's how you bounce, that's how you bounce. I think you leave a lot of money on it. I've had guys say to me, Max, we've always done cost plus 15%. I don't know how you make money in that. It's just about impossible. And so, that's why our competitive advantage is to give clients fixed price, and that gives them peace of mind, security, and certainty. But they do pay a premium for that. I'm not going to take the risk at a 15% markup. That's not how it works. I've just added more value in the way of a fixed price. That's why we can put the kind of put our pricing model together the way we do. So anyway, so you figure out what your pricing model, that's another important decision that you're going to have to make along the way. Right. Point number 2, as it relates to the critical role of decision-making, is for you the need for a system to reduce distractions, okay? So distractions and interruptions can cloud our judgment and lead to poor decision-making. So the problem is we can squirrel off, and you might see the bright and shiny, and it's not like that we do that because we're impulsive or we can't pay attention, but we do get pulled in so many different directions. And so I think it's an art form, and I guess if you're not aware of what's going on, you need to take some time out and think about what I'm about to say, because the solution to that is to remove the distractions. We've got to develop, a system to minimize the distraction and create an environment conducive to clear thinking and effective decision making. So it could be something as basic, well, I've got to draft this really important email. And so I will turn my phone upside down and I will just drop anything else on my computer right then and there that could potentially distract me. So this is a system that I have when I've got to be, and I go, right, and I've got 30 minutes to write this email, or it's a really important one, I'll give myself 60 minutes. I don't check calendars, I don't check messages, I don't get notifications. There's nothing going on, because I know that I will operate at an effective level if I remove the distractions. So I don't think it's a mind-blowing methodology or philosophy, but I think there's just the discipline that it takes to not get distracted and not allow yourself to walk away from the task that you've currently got on your table. And this whole thing about multitasking is just the biggest pile of horse shit. I don't argue the fact that there's not several things happening, on my computer, but what I'm doing is I'm stacking a bit of a to-do list essentially. So, there's notes that I've got to send out from yesterday's meeting, and there is a bunch of Google Docs pages that are open, because once I finish one task, I'm like, okay, what's my next task? Right, I've got to distribute those meeting notes to all of my EBA clients. That's the next thing I've got to do, and I focus on that. So, removing the distractions from your life is that is a discipline, folks. That is a discipline, because I used to have this saying that said, well, people say to me, oh, Max, are you busy? And I'm going, I'm busy and I'm productive, because all too often we can get there's all sorts of stuff going on and we go, boy, I'm really busy, but we're not that productive and we're not that profitable, and that's a problem. And that is developed as a habit over time through lack of discipline, and mostly because of lack of awareness. So I'm here today to bring some awareness, but I'm also going to follow that up here with some, education around, hey, what do you do, Max? Like, how do you stay on task? And that's how I do it, because I just know that I am that kind of guy. I like activity. I like things going on. And so, my office doesn't have a window, and so that's good, because even at school, my report card would say, he could achieve more if he would just apply himself. So even from elementary or primary school, my report cards were saying that this guy looks out the window too much and he gets easily distracted. So I've had to work pretty hard on that. And what I find is, I once I do get into the zone, let's call it the zone, where you're on task working on one thing, it just feels so good to get through and start and at the end of the day, because remember, I'm operating as an executive, and I don't get the fulfillment like I used to as a tradesperson, where we could look over our shoulder and go, right, the fascia and gutter's going on that, the roof's going on, those windows are in now, we've got it to lock up, it's ready for rough in. And I'm proud of that, because I was there the day the timber or the lumber was on site in packs, and we started, marking slabs, flicking out slabs, cutting plates, cutting studs, and start to see that thing go. I don't get that satisfaction anymore. So, I think for me, it's probably why I'm easily distracted in the office as an executive. So you and I were going to have the similar challenges. So we really need to reduce the distractions. The point 3 in the critical role of decision-making for you as an executive. So decision-making strategies for general contractors. We need to adopt a CEO-level strategy. To make effective decisions, it's essential for you to think and act like an executive. And I've got 3 decision-making strategies that are commonly used by CEOs, because I've got several business partners that are CEOs in several different companies. that you and I as general contractors can use to elevate the productivity within our business. Right, first one. This is probably, I use this when I'm training, when in training with Smith & Sons franchisees. I need you to Google this because this will be all over the internet. It's called the Eisenhower Matrix. Okay, I mentioned this briefly in episode 194. This is a tool that helps prioritize tasks based on urgency and importance. It enables you to focus on what truly matters. And so what it comes down to, it's three quadrants. So imagine a circle and you just split that into 4 quadrants, right? So something will come onto it'll hit your desk, it'll come across your desk, and the 4 quadrants are broken up like this. It's the urgent and important. That's quadrant number 1. These are the tasks that need to be done immediately. Quadrant number 2, important but not urgent. Okay, so these are the tasks to schedule for later. Okay, so down the list a little bit. Quadrant number 3 is urgent but not important. Okay, these are the tasks we can delegate, right? And then quadrant number 4, they're neither urgent or important, tasks to be eliminated. Okay, so that helps us qualify, because this is, what I've been told is I've got a unique gift of compartmentalizing. So for me, because I'm running Elite Business Advisory, I'm running Smith & Sons Corporate, we're in the startup phase of Smith & Sons Coldstream, so a general contractor here in British Columbia. And I'm running a rock and roll band. I've got a wife and 6 kids. Like that compartmental. So I've got to be able to, because that can become overwhelming. Just the thought of the responsibility around that, for some folks, would be just like, that is ridiculous. Why would you even put yourself through that? For me, I embrace it because I kind of love business. Now, are there days where I think it all can go to hell in a handbasket? For real, absolutely. But we're shooting this at 8:30 in the morning, and I find that this part of the day is where I execute the best, right? And because I'm fresh. But by the time, my most effective hours are going to be between 6 a.m. and probably noon, And then after that, I'm back into operations. And so all of my creativity and this level of spontaneity and bubbliness, if you like, it kind of is gone. And now we're just down into, black and white sort of operations. Okay, so we want to have those 4 quadrants using that Eisenhower matrix. That's something that I lean on a lot. It's something I recommend to my franchisees and, of course, my Elite Business Advisory clients. The benefits of doing that is it reduces the noise of less critical tasks. So you sort of get rid of those and allows you to concentrate on the strategic decisions that need to be made, as opposed to those things that are, that really need to be eliminated from where you're at. Now, strategy number 2, and this is something we do in strategic planning, whether you coming on board with Smith & Sons, day 4, we talk about strategic planning and business development, the SWOT analysis. Now, if you're new to that, if you're new to that and you don't know what the acronym SWOT means, I'll cover that in a second. But if you are aware of that, it's something that we've got to focus on all the time, because as we move through the quarter and the year, it really helps us identify where we need to pay attention to. So the explanation or the reason or what is the SWOT analysis? It's the framework that helps us as executives identify internal strengths and weaknesses, as well as the external opportunities and threats. Okay, so your strengths and weaknesses, because SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So strengths and weaknesses are very much something that we can analyze internally. It's about us. It's about our business as an operation, whereas the opportunities and the threats are normally external. Okay, there can be some threats internally, which we need to address, but for the most part, opportunities are what's in the marketplace, what's in the recruitment world, and what are the threats? Is there market fluctuations? Is there price increases? Is it taking us too long to go from the quote to contract or to build, and therefore we're having to eat some of the fixed price, because there was a price increase, so our gross profit just got smaller? Those sorts of things are what we need to use in our decision-making process on the fly as it relates to the systems that operate our business. And so, if we want to, the application, to break it down even further, is in your strengths. You got to assess what your company does well, such as quality work, your reputation, or skilled workforce. You've got to focus on. If you are looking for strengths and you can't really nail that down, well, that's going to tell you that there's some decisions that you need to make around how do we strengthen the business. Okay, so everything that we're doing in the way of auditing and assessment is all about identifying the gaps within your process, and then one at a time doing a root cause analysis and looking at solutions, okay? Don't go and pick 15 gaps and go, right, we're going to solve all these today. It just doesn't happen. Triage. So put the most important gap at the top of the list and figure out what you've got to do to strengthen that. Weaknesses are obviously identifying areas for improvement, like we just talked about, gaps in skills or limited resources. Opportunities, look for external factors that you can capitalize on, such as market trends or new technology. This is one that's really playing into, our hands at the moment, because I love, obviously we all love where we came from, and this is the way we've always done it, that type of mentality. But the double-edged sword for me is that, if we did something analog really well, or maybe not even terribly well, but we had a system of some description in the analog world, what I'm looking for is a piece of technology that's going to take that analog and really digitize it to a way that makes it supremely user-friendly and really efficient, and it really creates and helps move the business into a high level of profitability because of that adoption of that technology. And so, we really got to understand that, looking at how we go about running the business and even the technologies around how we build, using site. There was a thing that we used to have. I've got this in the operations file, and that was probably the iteration. The most recent iteration was probably a couple of years ago, probably prior to COVID, and it still has a daily site log for the guys to fill out, manual, paper. Now, that's a classic example. So we go, okay, this is how we used to do it manually. There was a folder on site. At the beginning of the day, they'd clock in. They would fill out the details at the end of the day, what they did when they timed out, and off they would go. Nowadays, it's all digitized. You have an app, you clock in, you then fill out information as it relates to what you did on job site, and you hit submit. So it's the same system, but it's more the user interface, the user experience, and your guys on a job site, if you're not tracking their activities via a written daily site log, then it's a little reckless. But you can upgrade that now and go from, instead of just jumping into a written format, you can go, hey guys, this is the app that we're now using. So we need to embrace, or keep an eye on market trends and new technology. Threats are just recognizing external risks that could impact your business, such as competition or economic downturns. I think the greatest risk for you as a building company is where there is a downturn in the marketplace, and you haven't got the sales coming through that you would like, and you don't have the operational capital saved up, and you are now in a position where it's a downward spiral, because you go, hey, we haven't got the bank. Now we've got to go and win jobs at less margins. And then if something goes wrong on the job, we're potentially making less money, which means we're not even covering our costs now. And so that threat, when we look at threats, we talked about decisions around the pricing model. I think when we look at the threats, what that's going to do is it's going to throw you back to, okay, so what is the pricing model? Max has said we need 2 or 3 months of operational capital to cover our fixed expenses for 2 or 3 months. So what's that number? Right. Well, then we're not pricing accordingly because we don't have the confidence to go and mark up a $100,000 renovation at 43%. So what you've got is this knock-on effect, this negative knock-on effect. Now, the reason you can't win jobs at 43% is because you haven't got a dozen videos on your website where clients have enjoyed the process of working with Smith & Sons, where there's social proof, there's a level of confidence that's going to come to them as prospective clients, and they want to embrace that, and they want to partake of that, and they want the same experience. So again, there's those knock-on effects. So we do a SWOT analysis. We identify a threat. We haven't got the cash at bank based on the forecast that we've done. We then look at our pricing model. We understand that we're not pricing the jobs at an appropriate level to help our business function. And this is why doing those forecasts at the beginning of the year, you straight away know 3 months into that year whether or not the trend is upward or downward. And what it does is it identifies, challenges. You go, okay, well, we're not spending enough money on marketing. If you're halfway through the year and you've not allocated the appropriate amount of marketing, you've only really accounted for 50% of what's an appropriate marketing spend, then I know why you're not going to hit your revenue goal, because it just, Alex Hormozy talked about, he was doing X amount of posts, he might have been doing 2 or 3 posts a day, and he got some advice from Grant Cardone, who said, mate, you've got to do more. So then he bounced straight to 80 pieces of content, and all, you know, his followership went up, his views went up, his online sales went up, and it was all directly reflected off the back of the amount of investment he made in marketing. And so, you know, that's why we do that SWOT analysis as a primary strategic planning tool. And then we can actually roll out for practical, tactical things that we can do to give us the best chance of success. So the benefits are, we provide a comprehensive view, this is of doing a SWOT analysis of your business environment, aiding in informed decision-making. So there we go. Right, strategy number 3, and this is a little bit of a different one. It's the 10-10-10 rule. And basically the explanation is a lady by the name of Susie Welsh. She developed this, and it involves evaluating decisions based on their impact in the next 10 minutes, the next 10 months, and the next 10 years. So it's an easy one to remember. You go, okay, if I make this decision, what's going to happen to me in the next 10 minutes? What's going to happen to me in the next 10 months? And what's going to happen to me in my business in the next 10 years? So it's a really basic format. And again, it really helps us expedite or speed up our ability to make decisions, because we need to be very brisk in our decision-making process. We need to be very prompt. We really can't, and I'm not saying that you don't give things that are high level a lot of understanding or a lot of consideration, I should say, but there is a part of running our day-to-day where things don't need that much consideration. There is things that we could act on quicker, and we don't. Okay, so that's why we break it down. 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 years. Okay, so in 10 minutes, consider the immediate consequences of your decision. That's the 10-minute protocol. 10 months, reflect on the impact of your decision in the medium term. Okay, and then 10 years, think about how the decision will affect your company in the long run. Now, you might be making decisions that have no impact on you 10 years. So you go, okay, what's it going to do to me in the next 10 months? Well, probably not much. Okay, in the next 10 minutes, it's going to give me a day off tomorrow or whatever. So, you know, we want to be able to take something that's complex and simplify it, because I know we get a lot of fog in our brain because we have difficulty in compartmentalizing. So our decision-making process really gets caught up in the analysis side of that thing, and we've already talked about that. So the benefits of using this or implementing or using this strategy is that it'll encourage long-term thinking and it helps balance the short-term pressures with future goals. So I often say, oh, look, you know, yeah, that was pretty shitty what happened, but in 12 months, we'll look back and laugh. And so that's what I'm talking about. There's things that affect me today, and I allow them to run away with my emotions when I think about it in 3 months from now and I go, I don't know what I was worried about. Like, that was a complete overreaction. And I do that more times than I care to remember. That's why I'm sitting here, maybe just, you know, giving you some insight around what I find works for me as well. So obviously the importance of decision-making and the role of the owner, you know, you in guiding the company's direction, the hiring, the niche selection, the client profiling, and the pricing models. It's imperative that we understand our responsibilities and we have strategies and systems to help us in our decision-making process, you know, and we've got to have those systems to avoid the distractions, and we've got to highlight, you know, in the decision-making process using the Eisenhower matrix, the SWOT analysis, and the 10-10-10 rule. That was really going to help us critique our activity in that process. So guys and girls, I hope you got something out of that. You know, if you got any questions, max@elitebusinessadvisory.com. Get on Business for Builders VIP. I would love you to throw any questions you've got on that format, and I would love to jam with you on that format for the benefit of you primarily, but then the knock-on effect is we're giving good karma as well, and we're helping everybody else in that group who might have a very similar question. And don't be afraid. You know, get on that elitebusinessadvisory.com website, hit the book a consultation button, sit with me for 30 minutes. I will pour into your business and you as a human as much as I can, and really try and help thrash out what the future of your business might look like, and whether or not you know that you'd want to give some consideration to working, you know, to have me on board as your business coach. We see enough success coming on that I'm sure you won't regret it. So at least go and investigate, do your due diligence, come and chat with me, and let's see what we can do and see if we can help you build a kick-ass business. But until then, everyone go and build a kick-ass business, and I look forward to seeing you guys and gals on the next episode. Cheers.